Welcome to Web Development Fundamental Lessons. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to put a background image in our web pages. For instance, if you go to any website, for instance, I'm Googling CUNY, City University of New York. This is City University New York, and like most of the website in the world, this website also has these images, which is a background image, right? So maybe this is also another background image. So how do we do this background image in our very own web pages? So I'm going back to my desktop, and you can create another new folder for our new project. I can name it maybe part 3. You can name it anything you want. Then going back my text editor, opening a new file, save as index.html, desktop, lesson 1, part 3. All right, and to save some time, this is my skeleton HTML codes, and we talked about that in the previous lesson. So if you missed it, you can go back to the previous lesson and learn about it. So here, now, inside the body part, just to see if our websites are working, we can just put a head tag just to test our web page. And I can write anything, hi there. Then right click. Okay, so this is our very basic web page, and we want a background image here. So in order to do that, I will be using some CSS techniques, but very first I need to define what area I will be using my background image. In order to do that, I just created div tag. Div stands for division. That means this division, or this is the space where my background image will be taking place. So I can name my div as div id equal to, you can name it anything. I'm just naming it Monday because today is Monday. Tomorrow is Monday. Now, what happens at this point if I go back to my browser? Nothing, right? Because inside the div tag, we don't have any element yet. All right, I'm creating another new file for my CSS. I'm naming it as stylesheet.css, saving in the same directory, part 3, the one that we just created. I'm also in the head section. I'm linking my CSS file with my HTML file. You know how to do that. If you don't know, please go back to the previous lesson and see that. So I just copy paste my code to save some time. So I just linked here my CSS style sheet, which is totally empty at this point. Now I need to have an image in order to put in my web page. So what I can do, I can go back to my folder, part 3. Inside the folder, I can create another folder. I can name it images. Nice. Now going back to Google, and let's say we Google for an image, maybe beautiful New York. And image, you can choose an image for our web page for now. Can be anything, really does not matter. Maybe choose the first one. Going here, right click, save image as in our image folder. Part 3, or I think you can choose it from here even. Part 3, then image, then you can name it so let me just double check. Lesson 1, part 3, image, right, and save it. So now checking my image folder, it should have an image, and I can rename it. Maybe I can rename it something short, nyc.jpz, something like that. Okay, nice. So I have an image in my image folder. Cool. Going back to my text editor. Now, in your CSS file, you can target your division by the name. The name of my division was Monday. So all I am going to do is this pound sign or hash sign, then writing Monday. Then between the curly braces, you can write this CSS code, background image colon URL brace. Then inside the quotation mark, you can indicate the directory. For us, it was images folder. Then the name was nyc.jpg. Wonderful. That was the name of our image. If you go back here, you will see images. That's the folder name. That inside the images, the name of our image was nyc.jpg, exactly as it is. Now, if you go back to check your web page, if you refresh it, nothing happens, right? Why is that? That because of you did not, or we did not give our image any height or width. So I'm going to give some height, for instance, 100%. That means it will take the total size of the image. Width, the same. I'm giving it 100%. Then what happens if I go back to my web page, refresh it? Nothing happens yet because you need another CSS property, which is position. We'll talk about these properties later on in details, but for now you can just follow along with me to see the output. Now I have property absolute, and if you go back to your web page, refresh your web page, you'll see an image, which is background image. But there is a problem here. See, this image is repeating here. It's broken down and it's repeating because the image is not large enough to cover all the web pages. How do we fix that? So going back to your text editor, you can write background repeat, then you can choose no repeat. Wonderful. Now if you go back and if you refresh your browser, there is no repeat, but there is new problem. You have blank spaces. It didn't cover the whole web page. How to fix that? Going back to your text editor, you can write another line of CSS code, which is background size, and you can just write cover. Wonderful. Saving it, going back to your web page, refreshing it, and that takes your total web page. Wonderful. And we have our hi there, which was the very first line of the code on the top. And now we have a beautiful background image that takes the total page. That's it in this lesson. See you in the next one.